There we go. There we go. We are live. Yes, we are. Make sure we are.
Working for the weekend, and I want to see a show. I flip on the book of face. Yeah, I know where to go. There's a man over there into the music scene, showing lots of love for the community with great advice. I know who I should go see. So all around town radio show, that's where I go for the latest band info. So all around town radio
Show. Hi, Ray.
Hi, Scott.
How are you?
I'm doing better than I was the last 2 weeks. How about you?
Oh, well, I'm hanging in there. I mean, I am. Thanks for joining me on a cancellation Wednesday. We had somebody cancel yesterday, and Ray stepped up to the plate, as she always does, to join me on Wednesday with the band. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're just going to shoot the crap a little bit today and find out some things about you. I got a chance to see you play over the weekend, and wow, that's all I got to say is wow. You were killing it, girl.
Thank you.
You were, and everybody there was talking about what a great front person you are. And, you know, I've seen you a lot, and you have so improved in that category. And I think it comes from some of your other hosting duties you're doing and all that. You're one of those people now that you're selling the bar, you were selling the event, you were selling the food trucks out there while in between your songs, yet still entertaining the hell out of the crowd. Is that something you enjoy? I mean, is to shout out like the workers and the people like that, because it really seems to work.
Yeah, that is actually one thing that I've always felt. Well, you know, I've bartended for a really long time, and I've served tables before. I've worked in the industry for quite a while, and that is one. I used to work in places where they had live bands, and one thing that I learned just from working as a bartender with live bands was the bands that kind of, you know, shout out the bartenders. We loved that. You know, as a bartender, I was always like, hey, cool.
Well, yeah. And it recognizes the people that are working hard for the evening. And, you know, like I said, you were on this stage. And first of all, can I just say too, and we'll get into it a little deeper, your stage looked really cool. The setup you had, I mean, that was, it looked like a touring act. I mean, it did. You have all this stage presence yourself, but you have all these backdrops and things you're using. And, you know, it's really fun to see that. And somebody that takes pride in setting up a room to look like it's a big show, even though you may be playing a smaller venue. I mean, you're not playing a 10,000 seat arena, but it looked like that, you know. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool. Who came up with all those ideas?
So it was a huge collaboration between the main members of the band, which are myself, Bobby, and Matt, singer, bass, drums, singer, guitar, and drums. My bad. So
don't forget that. No.
Sorry, still getting over the sickness, but anyway, Bobby has always had his hand in these lights. I mean, this whole lighting system that we have, I believe it's all DMX. It's all pre-programmed. It works with the show that we have. It's actually really cool what we do. We don't, you know, we're not about like keeping secrets and you can't use the same things that we use. So like, we like to tell people like, hey, this is how we do things. I can't tell you exactly what system Bobby is using because I don't know, but they're really cool. And we do have, I've mentioned before, we have tracks. We use either backing tracks for like some of the newer songs like Dua Lipa and The Weeknd that have some electronic stuff going on that you can't really do with live instruments. And we also have click tracks to help us stay in time with, you know, other songs that we don't have the backing tracks to, but the click tracks kind of help with the show. We don't need somebody to run our light show. It's really cool. It actually, the lights go along with that click. They know where we're at in the song. So as long as we're doing things appropriately, the show goes appropriately. if that makes
Well,
sense.
yeah, the new technology is just amazing. I mean, from what it's come like from the 80s to now, it's just amazing in live music and what you can do and also what you can do with processors and these guitar players who can play, a Helix or something on the guitar and use one of those, and it's like they can play every type of guitar tone they want to program in there. So if you're doing a Journey song, it's going to sound like the Journey song. You're doing the Van Halen, whatever, it's going to sound like that. And I think that's cool. And it's, some people, there are old school people who bitch about that stuff. They do. We know that. And they're like, if you have an iPad on the stage on your phone or something on your mic stand, they throw a fit about it. Not necessarily are people using that for the lyrics. They're using it sometimes to run their in-ear monitors, which people don't realize. And that's the thing you do, right?
That we do. We have in-ear monitors, and that's actually, everybody has the individual control of their own mix so that they can, maybe they don't want to hear me screaming in their ears all night, so they can turn me down a little bit. Maybe I'm getting too much kick drum in my ears. He's right behind me anyway. I can turn him down. So that is one of the advantages of being, you can use your phone for it too. It's really hard to keep. Someone commented or something on something I was reading. It was like, well, you can use your phone for that and you can leave it in your pocket. Like, have you tried to get your phone out of your pocket while you're playing bass or while you're playing the guitar? That's like,
that's good. That's not going to work.
So yeah, having it up on a stand or having an iPad up on a stand, that's what we run our mix with, an iPad. If you see our sound guy, Johnny DeLuca, he has an iPad, and that's just how we run that's what it is now. There's a lot of digital sound systems, and that's what we use. And
I got to meet Johnny. What a nice guy he was that night. But I want to say too, on that note, nothing makes my hair stand on end more, and I don't have much of it left, but is when somebody's standing on stage all night and I need more of his guitar in my monitor. I need more vocals. And it's like for a half an hour between songs, sometimes people are doing that. It's like, you should have done that at sound check. And you can do that now through technology, just right there on your iPad or your phone or whatever you've got connected to that mic stand. So don't judge people always. It's not always the lyrics or the chord progressions or any of that stuff. However, you go to the jam on a Thursday night, how are those guys ever going to do that sometimes without some of that technology and being able to look that song up a little bit and know where they're at and who's where? Because that's like playing Stump the Band some nights there, when we're at the jam and somebody gets up on stage and says a song, I see those guys look at each other, Ray, and they go, you ever done that? No. You ever done that? No. Well, we'll try it. And pretty soon it's great. But, it's just, it's one of those things. Technology is a good thing, I think, in the music industry. Now, there's a fine line with that. You said you have backing tracks, click tracks, and a lot of bands are using that today.
Mm-hmm.
I've done shows with some of the bigger nationals who just don't have it anymore. And they have ghost singers backstage singing on microphones that nobody ever sees. They have tracks running that back when they stripped Milli Vanilli of a Grammy. But, now it's like commonplace sometimes for some of these national acts to have these tracks running with the vocals. Because, God, I hate to say it. I love Motley Crue, but I went to a Motley Crue show and Vince missed every third word in the song or something, and they had tracks running behind it. You could tell, and they didn't really seem to care because there was 100,000 people there.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. And what do we got? We got a little comment coming in here. Kevin says, "Just continue to play; it'll get heard and worked out live." There you go. Thank you, buddy.
Well, I think that some people, as far as like click tracks and stuff go, not everybody can actually play along with that. It does take some skill and it takes a lot of practice. If you end up, especially if we're using, say we do The Weekend, Blinding Lights, that song's just all electronic. Like Bobby adds some guitar into that song because it just doesn't exist. Like we kind of do it our way, but we do have the backing track so that it's recognizable. Oh, this is Blinding Lights by The Weekend. But if you are off by a tiny little bit, the whole song is off and it's noticeable. And you have to actually know how to get back into what you're doing. Cause that it takes some skill. So people like to, crap all over musicians for doing stuff like that. And I'm like, well, try working with it. Maybe. Yeah,
it's not as easy as it looks. And I will say this too. I am not a huge, massive fan of the fact that new music today doesn't have guitar in it. I love guitars. I love the guitar licks, the leads and all that stuff. I'm old school. but it seems to be working for people. So I'm not gonna down them for it. But I just like a song that's got a guitar in it that somebody can shred a solo or do whatever. It just seems like that's part of music. But you guys really did some cool stuff the other night, and you were all over the place. You were everywhere with, I guess, your set list, Ray. You has your experience with the karaoke side and hearing people sing songs and done that brought any of that in at all? Because you do karaoke shows and you do them so good. But what's does that have anything to do with this? I noticed you have a lot of new material.
Yes, actually, I'm working on a few right now that, and I'm blessed to be able to do this karaoke thing, especially 4 days a week now. I have four regular karaoke nights a week. And I do use that as time to practice the songs. Like sometimes I'll be listening in the car to something that I've been doing for years and I'm like, oh wow, I could be doing that better. And other times, like it's just I'm trying to learn new songs. Like there's this Ed Sheeran song called Shivers, and it actually does have a little bit of like acoustic guitar in the background. It's got, I mean, it's a really interesting kind of dancey kind of song. And I heard it for the first time because somebody requested it at one of our shows. They said, can you play Shivers by Ed Sheeran? And I was like, no, I don't know that song, but I'll go ahead. We're about to take a break. I'll go ahead and play it on the break. So I played the song and then people started dancing to it. And I was like, oh, this seems like a popular song. So I kind of took that and I went and started doing it on my karaoke nights. I started learning it and people always seem to know it. And then that's kind of one of the ways that I try to find new songs to add into our set list because it does seem to work. I do seem to get like a general idea of like what different ages know. Like there are certain songs that like maybe only the Gen X crowd really knows. There are certain songs that only the millennial crowd really knows. But I try to find songs that kind of hits everybody, or everybody kind of, everybody's singing along. You've got grandma singing along. You've got the little kids singing along. But yeah, karaoke has really helped me realize what other people are kind of into. I've learned a lot of new songs.
Yeah, and what works and what doesn't too. I mean, what falls flat sometimes, and that's a learning experience too. We've talked about that on the show on Tuesdays a lot. Here I go. I made a statement now. Chris Lee's going to dog on me here. Says I need to search deeper. I listen to a ton of current music with heavy. I didn't say it all didn't have guitar, Chris. I just said I'm not happy with a lot of the new music not having guitar in it. It's all electronically button pushed, processed. And as a musician, I'm sure you know that AI and all the other stuff can do bad things and harm to those who are really trying to hone their craft and be an artist out there. And I think I can make a song today with lyrics and everything on AI and never pick up an instrument. And that scares me a little. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like robotic music. Hello, Melissa. Thank you for being here from the wonderful group of Finding Melissa. How are you? Rae Renee, I want to say before we move on to another topic here, because you really hit on that really well about your stage show, but I want to tell you how impressed I was on Saturday when you played Heather's for the Boo Fest in Springboro. Everyone that got off that bus, because they were running buses around to all the bars like a pub crawl, and everyone that got off that bus came in and stopped and watched what you were doing, whether they were just going in to get a drink and then moving on to the next bar or whatever they were doing. They stopped and listened to you. And like you said, I noticed all ages were singing along. And that was kind of cool. I mean, it is. You should be very proud of what you guys have put together there and how you put it together. And then you brought in this superstar called Rick Dews, who played along with you. And what a joy that was to see him play in another element. I mean, I've seen him play at the Jam. I've seen him play with Dat Band. He's fantastic. But you brought him into your element, and man, he just hit the ground running, didn't he?
Yeah, we never once practiced with him. It was just I just knew that he knows his stuff. I've seen him at the Bell Jam. I know the type of songs that he tends to play with Dat Band, which is his band. And I was like, you know what? This is, a lot of the songs, Uptown Funk. They do Uptown Funk. I was like, he knows that one. That's one of the hardest ones that, for a bass player that has never played with us to come in and just straight up learn that song properly. That, that's not an easy thing to do. So we asked Rick. He was so kind to do this for us. And he was fantastic. We've had quite a few amazing fill-in bass players from other bands that are just fantastic, and I will have any of them, especially Rick Dews, come back anytime to fill in with
Wow,
us.
yeah, Rick's just a force. He is, and he can, like you said, when you're playing like Uptown Funk. I mean, that is a bass-driven song, and he jumped right in there and did it. And it was so impressive to see you guys just as a cohesive unit up there on stage and working the crowd, and you doing that. But I do want to move on. I do want to talk about your karaoke stuff, because this is building for you into a big business where you're working a lot. And how do you, because I have friends who have run a karaoke bar for 20 years. Okay. And it's in Dayton. It's called the Soft Rock Cafe, and it's in Centerville actually. And the singers that come in there are of the caliber, they could be touring with people. They're that good. And it's just grown into this place where singers go to see other singers sing and all that. How do you take those nights where one night you're up there and you've got this crowd that's clicking, everybody's doing songs, the people love it, they're into it, and then those other karaoke nights where it's you, the bartender, and 3 or 4 people that want to sing, and they get to sing a lot, and maybe they're not the greatest singer in the world, or they have the guts to get up there, but they're just not an entertainer. How do you deal with those nights, those off nights, I like to call them?
Well, the cool thing about my karaoke nights, in the karaoke crowd that I have, a lot of the crowd that I have currently is a crowd that has come from various other, they go to various other bars, karaoke bars around the area. They know several other karaoke DJs that I know very well. We talk about each other. Like if I don't have something going on a particular night and somebody asks me like, hey, where's karaoke tonight? I will send them to DJ Danae, or I will send them to DJ Patrick Wallingford. He's with Big Daddy Walker karaoke. What's happened is that we've grown a really cool crowd, a karaoke crowd in general in Cincinnati. It's really odd, but it's awesome at the same time. And it's all these people that kind of know each other. There's a group, Cincinnati Karaoke Club, where everybody's posting their nights and everything. And I've gotten a lot of the people from, I think, that group. It's interesting because most of them are really fantastic singers. Nobody's necessarily like a bad singer, I would say. And everybody's really incredibly encouraging. That's something that I love about my karaoke nights, especially my Tuesday night at Remington Tavern. Everybody that comes in there, just like, it doesn't matter how somebody sounds. I don't like to say that people sound bad, because you know what? Getting up to try to do karaoke is so difficult. Like that, just doing it. Honestly, if you get up and you do it, that's amazing to me. I'm never going to be like, oh, this person can't sing. Like, I just come up and sing. And that's kind of what our crowd is all about. And I'm super grateful to have the crowd that I do, and everybody's so encouraging. They'll put in songs for each other. You know, they're like, oh, Gordon, you should do this song. Oh, Mike, I think you should try this song. It's so I don't really experience that, any bad nights. I wouldn't say I have bad nights. I have slow nights where there's only a couple people singing. But in that case, I try to read the crowd.
Roger. He said you would if it was me.
Roger. But I try to read the crowd, and I try to see, there's certain people that I know, they've come up to me before and they're like, hey, I don't like karaoke nights where they get up and they dance for a couple songs I want to get up and sing as much as I can. That's a lot of the people that come into Remington. So I try to, even if there's 2 or 3 singers, I try to only leave a partial song in between each of those singers so that they can continue to get up and do as many songs as possible. Because maybe tonight they got up and they did 15 songs. Well, tomorrow they're going to come back and there's a huge crowd, and maybe they're only going to get 2.
Well, and you're a different breed too, because many karaoke hosts can sing, and they do. I mean, that's kind of one thing that drives people, I think, to become hosts. And I used to host occasionally, and I can't sing. So that's a tough thing, because if you have to fill, then you've got a problem, because, and you can fill in if it's a slow night, and maybe you do a song or 2 here or there, and kind of bridge that gap a little bit. And I'm gonna be the other side of the fence here. I am, you know me, I am not a judgy guy. Normally, we joke about joy and judgment on our Tuesday show, but sometimes, and very few times, when I'm out watching karaoke and enjoying my evening at my friend's place there, the Soft Rock, do I actually have to get up and leave the room, Ray? I call it a smoke break, and I don't even smoke. But I go outside and have to leave because of some person who's nails on the chalkboard screeching in a mic or doing something like that. So I do unfortunately probably get a little too judgy because it does take guts to get up there. And yes, I get up there occasionally too, and I butcher a song, and people probably get up and leave when I do it. But it's an interesting thing how this segue between your band and the karaoke seems to work for you, and you've still got the style and the flash when you're doing these shows. Either way we go. So when did you decide that that was something other than the band that you wanted to do? Thank you, Chris Reese, for being here.
I actually started running karaoke nights back at Slammer's Lounge in it was on Brotherton over in like the Norwood, between Norwood and Oakley or Hyde Park. That bar is no longer there, but my mother bartended there for almost 30 years. And when I turned 21, I showed interest in getting into working in bars, mostly because I was trying to meet musicians, because I didn't know any other way to meet musicians. So that was my idea. I was like, okay, I know musicians go into bars to perform, some bars, so I'm going to start working in the bars and meet musicians. So I decided to start running karaoke back then for that reason. And I did start to meet a few musicians, and that was really cool. And I did it for a couple of years, but I wasn't making a lot of money with it. I didn't really have a crowd that I could pull in. So fast forward to about a year and a half ago, God, I can't even remember anymore, when Karis actually asked me to run karaoke on the final Wednesday of every month at the Bell and the Bear. And I totally forgot that I used to do that. Like pretty regularly, and I had all the equipment for it. And I was like, you know what, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. I'll do it. And so I have to thank Karis actually for getting me back into doing karaoke. And then so she honestly, I guess could say, is the catalyst for me really getting into this more full time. So thank you, Karis. If you're watching, I super appreciate you, and you're a wonderful human being.
Do people really realize the things she's put together there and the ideas she's had? I mean, think about that. The Crimson Sisters the other night, the Gina and Johnny combo. That's really Karis's brainchild. And this, having you do karaoke, knowing you're one of those performers, was a genuinely genius idea for her, because you're not just your common karaoke host. And when you do that, it has so much flair, like your band, like I said. And you're a musician at heart. You're a young musician compared to many of them that we talk to on the show. How are you going about keeping that band active? Because so many people I see today, they're posting, oh, this is getting so frustrating. I'm just at my wit's end and can't get a bar to call me back and blah, blah, blah. You know how that goes. You see it all day long. And how are you making this work as a newbie kind of breaking into this business? I mean, you've been there for a while, but you're really relatively new compared to a lot of these bands that have been together 30 years. How are you doing it? How are you making this happen?
So when I first started doing this, I actually joined a band that was already going called Doc Savage. I was with them for about 3 years, and I didn't I did some of the booking. I tried. I worked on stuff, but I did build relationships with certain bar owners over the years. And so I did have some contacts when we built a new band called The Mob, and that band also ran for about 3 years. This was a band that my boyfriend and drummer Matt Anderson started with me. So this is actually the band that we're in now is the second band that he's been in with me. So we did this 90s kind of band, and I was mainly myself and lead guitar player Jim Schwartz. He and I did a lot of the booking. It was mostly on the west side of Cincinnati because that's where we're from, and those are the people that we know. When Bobby and I built that one party band, I did reach out to the people that I already knew, and that kind of helped us get into, just get started, basically get some video so that we can show other bar owners, other venue owners, this is what we do. This is what we're about. This is what you're going to get. And that kind of builds on itself. Building rapport with bar owners and booking managers is a really, really smart thing for anybody that's really just starting getting into this. There are people that will email a whole bunch of venue owners and whatnot, and they'll get the email back and they'll converse that way. And they won't necessarily ever talk face to face to the person that they're booking with. I like to try to get to know the person that I'm booking with.
Oh, that's a win. That's a winner right there. I've got to say, I got to stop you for a second. Every owner I know says they're more apt to book a band if you come in and do a face-to-face, not necessarily while they're at their busiest time, but maybe on a slow night or something. You pop in, you say hi, and you just introduce yourself. No more than that. No sales pitch, no nothing. Just, hi, I'm Ray. I'm with That One Party Band, and we sent you some messages about booking here. Nice to meet you. Bye-bye. You know, but that goes a long way, don't you think?
It does. The same thing with, like, I mean, if you're trying to get a job, you're more likely to get hired if you go into, especially like a bar job as a bartender. If you go into the bar and you're like, hey, this is me. You know, I heard you're looking to fill in a bartending position. You're more likely to get that gig right there just from that face-to-face interaction, because people don't know who they're talking to on the other side. People don't know, you know, you can think that you're the best entertainer in the world. You can maybe be the best entertainer in the world, but if that person has never, you know, heard you or doesn't know anything about you, then it doesn't really matter.
Thanks, Colleen. Good comment there. Yeah, I agree, Ray. I think, and you've got the right approach to all this. And one thing, I'm going to give you some big props here before we have to run in a little bit. At the Women Who Rock event that we did, and what a great event that was. You ended up being last on the list to sing. You were there at the beginning of that event. You stayed all day. You met people. You worked with people you'd never talked to. You worked with them. You talked to them. You smiled all day long. And I will say there was a couple who were just all pissy about, I am low on the list. I've got to wait that long. I've got something to do, blah, 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 just bitching. And it's like, don't bitch. Look at Ray. She's here. She's going to wait. She's going to sing the last song of the night. And by the way, you killed that, by the way. But you know, you have the greatest attitude about this sometimes. And I know it gets you down some days. I mean, it's social media alone will get people down some days, trying to just keep up with promoting and all that and their changes. But you seem to have a great approach to it. How do you stay positive?
I try. It's not always easy. Like I definitely, I'm one person that I feel like I can tend to be on the negative side. I will admit that. And I try, but I'm aware of that. And I try really hard to stay on the positive side of things. I try to, I admit my faults. I'm not gonna, you know, claim that I'm perfect, because I'm not, and I make mistakes and I piss people off, and my personality doesn't always necessarily mesh with people. But like, you know, it's you have to take the bad with the good. That's what I'm realizing, because, you know, for every like 10 good conversations that you have with people, you're going to have that one person that takes the thing that you said or the way you acted wrong.
What's up, Casey? Thanks for being here. Casey Gomez in the house. Yeah, you're you know, when you said that about yourself, I'm going to say you are a high drive person. I equate Rae Renee, and people don't take this wrong. I equate Rae Renee as to like training a puppy. Rae Renee has such high toy drive and high drive to be on that stage and to be that person. And sometimes she takes a left or a right turn when she's supposed to go straight ahead. And, you know, in the training, but yet you always seem to correct and come back, which is a mark of a great person, in my opinion. And I always love being around you because I think you're positive. I know I get down too. I get down about all this. And it's frustrating. And I know many of the musicians can relate to it on here. It gets very frustrating some days, and everybody can say it's a family. It's great. It's never a competition, but in a lot of ways in your mind, it's a competition to try to stay relevant and stay engaged. And your social media talents too, you really know how to work those algorithms and things. And how do you stay up on that here? That's probably going to be my last question of the day for you, so to speak.
I just try to, I pay attention to trends, and I pay attention to what's trending, and I'm not always right. Because sometimes like I can think that I'm.
Hi, David.
sometimes I can think that I'm doing great, or this post that I'm making is going to go really, really far, and then nobody sees it, and I'm like, what did I do? Because what's really funny is that I, I I used to do this thing where I would make a whole list. Like I would spend like an hour at the beginning of every week, and I would list out, and it really wasn't that long of a time ago. I would list out, here's all the places that I'm going to be doing karaoke and that we're going to be performing this week. And I would just make this really cool looking flyer, and I would post it, and two people would react to it. And then I would go and I would look and see at, like how far the reach was. And it reached like 150 people, and like none of them were really on my page. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? But you know what? I noticed that if I take a picture of myself in the spot, like in the mirror in the bathroom or something like that, or just like, here's the outfit that I'm wearing today, a lot more people see that. Like it's just take the picture and post it, and hey, this is where I'm going to be at today. This is where I'm going to be at tomorrow. And then come see me at the end of the week. And that does so much better. And I was so confused by it. I'm like, but I take time to do this and it doesn't do well. But I do this over here, which is just, hey, selfie in the mirror, and boom. Whole bunch of people are like, yay, let's go out to your show. I don't understand. But like I said, it's just kind of like, it's trial and error.
That is so funny you said that, because I post pictures like on Instagram, and I'll post a picture on our All Around Town page on Instagram, and of a really cool shot I got of a band, a guy singing or something. It's awesome. And it gets 2 likes. I post a picture of my granddaughter, and I've got 200 likes. It's amazing. So I've started using them. I'm poaching these children out to be my advertisers. They'll have their headphones on, and it's like I'm listening to All Around Town radio, and it gets 200 likes. It's just so weird. Yes. How all that works.
You have to figure out kind of what works for you. And it's crazy because like I'll talk to other musicians and be like, hey, this is what I do, but you kind of have to figure out what you're gonna do. And like I swear to you, like, so I have to be honest, I do get paid for posting. Meta actually pays me for it. It's kind of like, the bands that are splitting the bar tab, like, however many people you get in here and how high the bar tab is what you're getting paid. For Facebook, it's like it's kind of a similar thing. Like you get so many reactions and so many likes for just depending on what you post. I posted a album. I was listening to a record. It was Jethro Tull Aqualung, and I post records fairly regularly. I've seen other people do it. Rick Kern and Jamie Combs both do it. I was like, I'll just post what I'm listening to as well. Nothing that I posted got me more than like $2 for post, and that's pretty much average. But I posted this Jethro Tull album, and for some reason it did this like mini viral thing that was I had like over 2,000 likes on that particular post. It was just this picture of this album, this Jethro Tull, and for some reason the algorithm in Facebook took that and was like, everybody wants to see this right now. And it showed a ton of people reacted, and I happened to benefit from it. And I think it paid me $14 to make that post.
Sounds a lot like streaming services. I've got 1 million downloads and they send me a check for 15 cents. That's how that works. But yeah, Facebook, I mean, it's interesting that that Meta performance they're doing and all that. They keep pushing me to do that, and I haven't done it yet, trying to get my tax information. I got to make sure it's legit before I do all that. Because, there's so much now that's scammers and reproducers and all that on there. And everybody's had T-shirts being sold with their face on it, too. That's kind of interesting.
That is not legit. And
Isn't that annoying?
That keeps happening. Somebody just did that to me and pretended to be me. And I was like, but that's why I have my Facebook is Meta verified and I have the blue check marks. So
me too. That's the only one. Note to self, post more selfie ads. David Thornton says, yes, David Thornton, you should.
No, guys too. It's not even just the fact that I'm a woman. I've noticed like Matt will post a picture of himself eating like a taco because he's the taco guy. And
he likes his tacos.
He gets so many reacts to that. And I'm like, this is absolutely crazy. Like, because you literally have your mouth open and you're eating a taco right now.
Rae, one last question today. It's one I ask everybody I have on the show. And by the way, thank you for being here and jumping in short notice. That we did this in 10 minutes notice today, guys, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
Ray had to brush her hair really quick. And yes, and I had to clean up a little too. So let's chat one last time here, though. I always ask everyone this at the end of all my Wednesday programs. If you could take the stage with anyone, past or present, your kind of bucket list co-stage with, who would it be?
Can they be dead?
Yes, past or present.
Selena Quintanilla.
I'm confused. Selena? You said Selena, right?
Selena Quintanilla.
Yes. Okay, I got you now.
From Selena y los Dinos.
You threw that out there in that native tongue a little bit, and I missed it. Okay, so Selena, why?
So I actually I've had people notice this before. I do emulate her. She's kind of an icon for me. I mean, I'm not Hispanic. I did not grow up in Texas. But when I was really, really, really little, my mom did like her. She thought that she had a beautiful voice. And when she passed away and the movie came out, she watched the movie with me, and I fell in love with the fact that she created her own outfits. Like, she took bras and she would put rhinestones and stuff on these bras, and she would go out on stage in pants, like up to just past her belly button, and a bra with rhinestones and stuff. And her dad didn't like it at first, and he was like, "You shouldn't be out on stage. There are men out there." And then he was like, "Just put jackets on. You know, you can wear it fine." But like, my stage style is very, very much an ode to Selena. The way I got on stage, she had this amazing, soulful voice, but she was not a native Spanish speaker, but she learned phonetically how to sing in Spanish, and she became this superstar and this icon for minorities and for little girls that didn't necessarily at that time in the early 90s have somebody to look up to who looked like them. And like, I feel like she did a lot of good in women in general, Hispanic women, yes, huge, but like women in general, because when you see her and see all the things that she did and her ambition and her drive, she was one of the most fantastic, talented, amazing voices of all time. And it's really sad that her light was snuffed out as soon as it was.
Absolutely. Great words there, Rae Renee. Thank you. You're always full of insight. You were on yesterday's show. If you didn't watch yesterday's show, guys, with Karis and I, go back and watch that as well, because we really got pretty deep into some stuff yesterday about the local music community and how good it is. And you're a part of that. And if you know, we always say. But this music community is one of great people and folks who like to pass the torch and hand down their ideas and their thoughts. And you've taken those and run with them. And like I said, you're relatively new in the music business, but you're doing great things. I appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Always.
It's always fun here on a Wednesday to have somebody on that has such great insight, guys. We will be back tomorrow live at 5 with Who's Playing Out, the best venues and musicians in the tri-state. That we feature our list every week. And Rae is on that list as well each week. So thank you, Rae, for sending in your gigs to us, as we like to say. And we'll see everybody next time. And if you're out about tonight, I'll be at Heather's in Springboro bringing you Name That Tune. And also, if you're not at Heather's, get out and support live local music and the bands and venues that bring it to you. Thanks, Rae. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.